Hey everybody, this is Perch. Got another mail here with two questions in one. One about the show and kind of the people interviewed, and this speculation that hits from time to time about why I say the things I do, and people sometimes are searching for deeper meanings. I promise the easiest answer is that I'm just saying what's on my mind, and I don't really give a fuck. That's the honest answer. But anyway, one of those, and then also a comic answer. So the mail goes like, "Hey Perch, I enjoy your show. I'm curious. I was listening to a live stream, not yours, and they were saying that you don't really ever talk negatively about the comic industry because you're afraid that comic pros won't talk to you anymore. Is that true? Are you worried that if you say something negative, that a comic pro is not going to talk to you?" That's the first part of the question. So then we'll come back to the next. So the short answer is no. And I've heard this discussed, and it's what is curious about it is it's like people throw that out there because they don't want to actually argue with the point I'm making. So their answer is, well, he's just saying that because he's trying to get on good with his comic pro buddies. But look, I've said enough things on this channel that if that was really a concern of mine, I'd be already dead, a long dead. Me saying that a lot of the comic shipping delay problems are because of just people who are incompetent. Talking about some of this stuff. I mean, it's all over. It's been all over for a long time. No, I actually believe what I say. I'm not saying this to try and cuddle up to comic pros, and because for again another simple reason. I enjoy going out with comic pros and editors and fans and customers at cons. I enjoy it. It's a good time. I've shared lots of beer and will share many more beer. Many more beer, many more beers. I don't know, much more beers is what I'll do. I'm not interested in hanging out with people that I have to suck up to. If I have to somehow watch what I say and navigate this minefield of opinions in order to get people to talk to me, I mean, like, no thanks. I'm not that sounds like a miserable night. I don't need that night. I'm not trying to get a job at Marvel. I'm not trying to get a job at DC. I enjoy comics. Like what? Like somebody's like, oh, if you keep saying stuff like this, Heather Antos isn't going to want to talk to you at a con. Hey, Heather Antos didn't want to talk to me years ago at a con. And I don't want to talk to Heather Antos. That sounds like a miserable evening to me. I'm sorry that I'm sure there are people who would enjoy that. I would not. So I am of the I don't know, whatever you want to call it, age, financial bracket, bored, however you want to describe it. I'm at that point where I don't really want to hang out with people that are going to irritate the crap out of me. So no, if you're listening to this channel and you're like, oh, he's just trying to suck up to his buddies, and you see somebody else make that comment, do me a favor and jump on there and go, hey, dumbass, no. No. It goes across the board. There are people who are in comics. There are people who have left comics. It just seemed like they'd be miserable people to hang out with. Several of the other YouTubers, I would not enjoy hanging out with them. Like, I'm being honest. And I don't think they'd enjoy hanging out with me, so it's a win-win for everybody. We all get to go off and have beer separately. But no, nothing on this channel. I don't pull my punches. I pull my punches out of respect for people's privacy, and I'll pull my punches out of respect not to be just overtly cruel. But that's about it. I mean, otherwise, this is what you got. It is what it is. I do think there's something telling that when people want to, they don't like what I say, they will go to the, oh, well, you're just saying that because you're trying to suck up to comic pros, or, oh, your opinion is milquetoast. It's like, but is the opinion wrong? Is it? You don't seem to argue with that. So anyway, be that as may. All right, second half of this mail, maybe more interesting. Here's something I'm curious about. Marvel did a huge job of promoting Squirrel Girl as one of their major characters just a few years ago. They had comics where she was beating up Thanos, Doctor Doom, the Red Skull. Squirrel Girl was described as being one of the hottest selling comics that Marvel had. Now, Squirrel Girl is gone. There is no solo comic. She isn't guest appearing anywhere. There's not even a digital comic out with Squirrel Girl. Nobody at all is talking about this character. Did the character lose popularity, or was she never popular to begin with? All right, and then some other stuff that doesn't matter. So it's the second one. The Squirrel Girl was never that popular. Now, I think what happened was Marvel put out this book. They got a #1 bump. The first trade sold not great, but it sold okay. Digital sales rumored were around 10% of print, which is higher than Marvel's norm. And so Marvel did perhaps not the dumbest thing, but they basically said, hey, there might be interest in this character. Quick, go go go! Hype, turn on, go over the hype machine and crank it on. And but so that's not a crazy idea. Like, hey, there's a glimmer of what seems to be some success with this character. It seems to be some, I don't know. Unfortunately, I think the early popularity of Squirrel Girl was about morbid interest more than anything else. I don't think there was ever a moment, but Marvel got in their heads that, hey, this character is could be a breakout with the kids. This is how we pull in that new audience. It's kind of zany and wacky. So that's what their thinking was. Now, Marvel being Marvel, and all the publishers do this, but Marvel does this a lot. They when they do have a good thing going, they set the gun on to whore. It was what do I mean by that? There's an old Simpsons bit. It's one of the better Simpsons bit where Homer has developed a makeup shotgun, and he just shoots Marge right in the face, and there's like makeup everywhere, and she's like, Homer, you said it to whore. And that's what Marvel does with their marketing. They do not know they don't know the careful art of restraint. They just blast that thing as hard as they can, and they usually ruin whatever they've got going in the process. So, character growth, popularity, it's a mix between organic and also kind of feeding and poking it along. Once upon a time, I think Disney was really good at that. If you look at like Frozen as a more recent example, Frozen came out. Disney believed they were going to have a hit on their hands. They had queued it all up, so they were ready. It was a hit. Then they started putting out karaoke, and they started really playing that song over and over. And they were relentless with it, but they had a good give and take. A Disney typically, and it is not always, but typically, they do a decent job of kind of keeping the ear to the ground, understanding when there's interest in something, and then marketing the hell out of it. That's Marvel. That is not translated to Marvel. Marvel is like a kind of amateur hour where that's concerned, where they will see some glimmer of hope with sales and popularity, and then they like a bunch of drunken, horny sailors. They will just immediately, pull their pants off and just start running around, waving their dicks at everything. That's Marvel's marketing in a nutshell. Now that image is going to be locked in your head, and you're going to think about that forever. But anyway, that's how Marvel behaves, and the results are, what you see. They typically have a character, they overhype it, the audience doesn't believe it, and then the character disappears from sight a couple of years later. And this is the thing with Squirrel Girl. There is no Squirrel Girl comic. They attempted toys, they didn't work. They attempted a cartoon, that didn't work. It's at this point the character is, as they used to say, toxic. Now, today, toxic is used to describe the fans and the customers, but back, once upon a time, toxic was used to describe a character that got hyped too much, they overdid it, or they blew it in some way, and then it's like people just are, they've got to almost hide it for a while to try and, wash the stink off of it so they can come back. That's where Squirrel Girl is right now. As an example, in the 90s, Marvel kind of famously announced that the Punisher had become toxic. And not because, again, he was shooting people or any of that kind of stuff. It was because they did this storyline where, he was an angel of God and he had like angel bullets. You may not know at all what I'm talking about, but if you put in like angel Punisher, you'll see what this thing is. He had like magic guns, and it was seen as a absolutely dismal, awful storyline. And the response was, back off, stop with the Punisher for a while. Let's just cool it on down. I think a similar thing happened to some extent when Rick Remender did his Frankencastle stuff. I think there was a little bit of that kind of like, we went too far. But right now, that's where they're at. And that's kind of what Marvel's doing quietly with Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. Now, she's got the show coming out, so Marvel's going to crank out that hype machine again. But Squirrel Girl's in that place. The uncancelable Wasp is there. Moon Girl. There's a bunch of comics that Marvel kind of went too aggressive on, and they're trying to cool them down. Now, what's interesting is the MCU and Disney Plus are putting some of these things out. We have a Moon Girl show coming, and we have Ironheart coming, and we have Miss Marvel coming. And so they're going to get back to putting comics out with these people. But right now they're kind of like the tail between their legs, kind of trying to figure out what's going on. By the way, how awesomely silly was it that Marvel went through exhausting steps to try and retcon the America Chavez origin into something that wasn't stupid. And then the movie comes out and they borrow from the Gabby Rivera America Chavez. One hand doesn't know what the other is doing. Anyway, thank you very much for the mail. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, please leave it below. And thanks for listening.